Back on the stage here at the PlayStation booth, E3 2014. One of my favorite people. Hi, Rami.
Hi, Anthony.
Rami from Vlambeer. A couple of my favorite games ever of all time. I'm still playing Luftrausers.
Oh, wow, nice. That's good to hear.
And you are up here to tell us about Nuclear Throne.
Yep.
Which I am also playing obsessively right now.
Yeah, Nuclear Throne, it's been a crazy project. Obviously, it started about a year and a half ago with a tiny game jam. We made it in 2 days, effectively, and we were working on Luftrausers back then, so we had our project. But then we noticed that after that game jam, we just kept coming back and added a new weapon, or added a new enemy type, or a new character to Nuclear Throne, because it's so much fun to be able to play a game of your own and just add little things without it being your main priority all the time.
Yeah. And this is kind of, Nuclear Throne is kind of a top-down roguelike shooter.
Yeah, so it's a top-down shooter with procedurally generated levels. Every time you play, you get a new world, new levels to play around in, and the characters all have their special active and passive ability, and on top of that, you can mutate them during the game to have over 30 skills at the moment that all very, very much change how the game plays and how the characters play. And those are also randomly given to you. So you might be, in one run, you might be able to get shotgun fingers, which will increase the power of your shotgun. While in another run, you might get stuck with extra legs, which will just make you faster. So there's a lot of randomness to the game, which for a developer is really exciting. Because normally when you make a game, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're the developer, you know what's going to happen, so it's not really that exciting when you play it. You know, like if I step into this box, this will happen. And here I have no idea. Every time I play, I can get killed in the first world.
I feel like it's got to be as interesting to kind of develop as it is to play.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to tighten and tweak these game rules. You guys are very, very active with your community.
Yeah.
You've been building the game for a while now and releasing weekly updates where you're just tweaking things every week.
Yeah, I mean, it's that thing where a lot of people say they make the games they want to play, and to me that sounds really sad. It's just like you're the only person that's not going to be able to properly enjoy them because you're making it, right? For you, it will always be something that you're working on rather than something you can play.
Yeah.
So at Vlambeer, we've always really focused on making games that are fun to make and that we just enjoy putting together. And Nuclear Throne is very much one of them.
Well, one of the things that I like about you guys is a couple of your games, you just sort of take on genres that you don't necessarily love. Genres that you kind of are like, why this? Why do people play this? This feels broken. You took on a fishing game, having never fished before.
Yeah.
And it wound up having shotguns in it.
I mean, fishing with machine guns just sounded really reasonable to me.
And then, of course, you start off with Super Crate Box, which is also one of my favorite games to have on my Vita with me. Just have it around at all times.
Super Crate Box on the Vita is probably the best version.
But that's another one where it was just kind of like, well, it's a single screen shooter and you have to get weapons out of crates, and we've never really enjoyed that. How do we make that enjoyable?
So the thing is, it's very much, we are in a very interesting age in the games industry right now, right? I mean, in terms of diversity of content, it's never been as good as now. We have narrative games, we have very, very realistic shooters. We have everything in the spectrum between like tiny little mobile games all the way to the new Call of Duty or the new Bloodborne or all the things that got announced here at E3. And we just feel that there's something left in arcade that hasn't been made. People always say that all the ideas have been exhausted.
Yeah.
It's like if we look at what was made back in the days, but we make it now with all the extra design knowledge we have, with all the extra history in video games we have, and we make something new that has the values of arcade. You know, it's simple to play around with. You can pick up Nuclear Throne and play in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's really, really hard to master. It really offers a lot of depth. We think arcade is not dead. We think there's so much left to explore. That's kind of what we do.
So what did you want to bring to top-down? What did you see that was missing that you wanted to put in Nuclear Throne?
I mean, we really felt that in terms of procedurally generated games, the focus tends to be very much on games that are slow and thoughtful, that allow you to process your action. Roguelikes are traditionally turn-based. It's where you have a lot of time to think through. But even games that we absolutely love that sort of play with the roguelike genre, like Spelunky, are still relatively thoughtful games. You get to sort of plan out your moves and figure out what you're doing. Nuclear Throne doesn't allow you that. I mean, you're walking around, there's a few dozen enemies all shooting at you. You are a crystal that can turn into a shield that reflects bullets. You have a shotgun, figure out what you do before the giant metal dog wakes up and eats you or something, right? It's very much, it tries to overwhelm you. And if you want to be...
And it really does. Like you can even see in the footage here in this trailer when it was just, everything is coming at you at all times.
It's very much a skill game. It's a skill game. It's a game in which, I mean, it's something we love doing. We like making games that you are terrible at. Because if you get to be terrible at a video game, you get to be good at it when you get better.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of games nowadays just sort of hold your hand and guide you through the thing. That's fine. But we want to make a game where if you can get to the final world of Nuclear Throne, that's an absurd achievement. If you can get to World 3, that's already an achievement.
Yeah.
We've been showcasing the game here at E3 for 3 days straight now, and I don't think I've seen anybody make it past World 2 yet. And some people have been playing for hours here in the booth.
I feel like that's so common in these procedurally, like World 2 and Spelunky is also the one where it's like, if you can get past World 2, it's almost kind of smooth sailing because that's the one that tests you and lets you know whether you're a good player or not. Tell us a little bit about some of these different character classes and some of these abilities. Like, what kind of stuff do you get to use and play with?
So one of our favorite things about the game is the characters. We've never really made a game that is so much about characters as this time. We have a fish that plays a guitar, and Fish used to be a police officer. One day before his retirement, the world just got destroyed in a giant apocalypse, and he turned into a fish. So he's been trying to deal with that, and he's pretty sad about it. We have Chicken, who is Chicken with a katana and a bandana that really likes samurai movies. And she's kind of cool because when we came up with Chicken, the idea was, can we make a character that you can keep playing after you die for a few seconds to try and revive yourself?
Yeah.
So when Chicken dies in the game, she loses her head, but you can still run around with the body without a head and try to find a medkit. And one of my favorite characters is Melting, which is super weak. If it gets hit once, it's over. But you can blow up the corpses of enemies as explosives and damage other enemies with them. So it very much changes the dynamic of the game. And it's also really clear, Melting is a really clear explanation of one of the design goals we had for the game, which is that all the special abilities you have are infinite. So they're not things that we limit with mana or with energy or with cooldowns or whatever. Like those are very much very game things, very game-like things, and we wanted to try something new. So all the special abilities in this game are infinite, but they all come with an advantage and a disadvantage, or they use something that is already in the game to decide whether you can use it or not. So in Melting's case, you can blow up corpses, but once you blow them up, they're gone, so you can't blow them up again.
Right.
And in that way, we still limit whether you can use an ability forever.
It's really funny because it makes you change the way you think about playing and using special abilities, because I found myself psychologically trained to save my special. Oh, don't use it now, use it later. When in reality, you can just be pounding on that the whole time.
I mean, special abilities are special abilities. You want to use them to feel good about yourself. You don't want to be sitting around the corner waiting for your cooldown to run out. We want you to have fun with an action game. Like, it is a procedurally generated game, but for us, it's very much, how can we make the best feeling action game that has been made in forever, right? Like, how can we make this the best action game? How can we make that shotgun feel like the best shotgun you've ever fired in a video game? And that has just been, it's really fun because we've been spending the past few months just making things feel better, making explosions feel a bit more powerful, making the shotgun feel a bit nicer, but also adding ridiculous weapons. I mean, we started with a pistol and a crossbow, and nowadays we have everything from screwdrivers to ion cannons and nuke launchers.
That's awesome. And yeah, like I said, I really love that stuff is coming so quickly, and so there's so many updates from you guys. Week to week to week, this game just changes and gets better. When are we going to see Nuclear Throne on PlayStation consoles, and what consoles is it coming to?
So Nuclear Throne will be coming out on PlayStation 3, Vita, and PlayStation 4. It is sort of available on PC, Mac, and Linux, but the PlayStation versions are something we're working on very hard right now. And that will also have the best experience for the co-op multiplayer game modes. Because this game in multiplayer is completely ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
So much fun.
It's actually unacceptable, but kind of amazing because it is. It's too much. It's just too much, but it makes for a really good time when one of you has a grenade launcher and you accidentally blow up all your friends.
Awesome.
Which makes for a good time and a lot of punching on the couch.
For sure. Well, we're looking forward to playing it, man. Thanks so much for coming up on stage with us.
Thanks so much.
All right, coming up, find out how the West was won in secret ponchos. We'll collect some bounties.
PlayStation